I need you to prepare yourself, not in the anxious, brace for impact way that those words sometimes land, not in the way of something difficult approaching that requires your defenses to be activated, but in the specific, deliberate, make sure you are fully present way of someone who is about to receive something so unexpected, so far outside the territory of what they had been preparing themselves for, that going into it without full awareness would mean missing the full weight of it. Lock your windows and doors, Virgo, because what came through for you today is the kind of thing that I have been doing this work long enough to recognize immediately as belonging to a completely different category from an ordinary reading. The kind that arrives with a completeness and a force that tells you before you have even begun to translate it into language that what you are holding is significant, that the person on the receiving end of this needs to be sitting down, that whatever they thought today's reading was going to be about, it was not this, I did not see this coming. And in a moment, you are going to understand exactly why I say that. Let me tell you what happened when I sat down to read for you. Because the process of receiving this matters to understanding its weight. I settled in, I set my intention, I opened to whatever was most needed for Virgo in this moment. And what came through was not a gradual gathering of impressions, not the slow building of an energetic picture that I then translate into language. What came through was immediate and complete and arrived with a quality of urgency that I have not felt in a very long time. Something has happened or is in the process of happening right now in this window in your life. Something that nobody, not you, not the people around you, not even the person or people directly involved in it, fully anticipated. Something that has arrived through a sequence of events that could not have been predicted from where things appeared to be standing even recently. And the nature of it, the specific quality of what is unfolding, is something I genuinely did not expect to see when I opened this reading for you. It is good, startlingly, breathtakingly, almost unfairly good, in a way that makes me want to check again to make sure I am reading this correctly, because the magnitude of what is arriving does not match the landscape that preceded it in any obvious way. But it is correct, and I am going to walk you through it. Let me begin with what has been happening in the background of your life. The part you cannot fully see, because understanding what has been moving in the invisible spaces is essential to understanding why what is now becoming visible has the shape that it does. There has been something building, not in the obvious, trackable way of something you could have monitored if you had known where to look, in the hidden way, the way that certain things develop in the spaces between the visible events of a life, gathering force and direction and momentum without announcing themselves until they have reached the point where announcement is no longer avoidable. Multiple different threads of your life have been moving simultaneously toward a single point, a point of convergence where things that appeared to be separate, unrelated, developing on their own independent timelines turn out to have been moving toward the same destination all along. That destination is arriving. And the reason it is arriving with such force, with such unexpected weight, is precisely because the convergence of multiple threads at the same point produces something larger than any single thread would produce on its own. Something that exceeds what you would have calculated was possible given what was individually developing in each separate area of your life. I want to speak to the specific nature of what is converging, because the different threads matter and each one contributes something essential to the full picture. The first thread is something you have been working toward, something that has been in process, developing beneath the surface, requiring your sustained attention and effort without always producing visible results that confirmed the effort was building toward anything. The specific kind of work that requires faith in the absence of immediate feedback, that asks you to keep going based on the quality of the work itself rather than the external validation of what that work is producing. This thread has reached completion, and the completion of it is not the modest, incremental arrival that the slow pace of its development might have suggested. It is arriving with a force that reflects everything that was being built during the invisible period, released all at once into visible form. The second thread is relational, a connection or a shift within a connection that has been approaching a threshold, moving steadily toward a point where what exists between you and a specific person in your life becomes something different, something more defined, something that steps out of the ambiguous space it has been occupying and into a clarity that changes how both of you understand what you are to each other. This threshold is being crossed, not slowly, not gradually, not in the incremental way that most relational shifts occur, all at once, with the specific, unmistakable quality of something that has been held back by its own timing finally being released into the full expression of what it actually is. The third thread is the one I hesitated over the most before deciding to include it, because it is the most unexpected of the three and the one that is most likely to produce the response that this reading is preparing you for. There is something arriving from a direction you have not been watching, from a space in your life that you perhaps wrote off or placed in the category of things that are simply how they are and are not likely to change. It is changing in a way you never anticipated, in a way that, when you understand the full scope of it, is going to make you question your assumptions about what is possible in that area of your life. Let me speak to the person who is at the center of much of what is unfolding, because their energy is the most vivid and the most insistent in this reading. This is someone who has made a decision, not a small one, not the kind of decision that gets revisited or second guessed or walked back when the initial courage of it begins to fade. A real decision made from the deepest, most honest place in them after a process of consideration that has been both thorough and ultimately liberating. The decision involves you directly, in a way that requires action, requires reaching toward you, requires closing whatever distance has existed between what they feel and what they have allowed themselves to express. What drove them to this decision is something I want to describe carefully, because I think understanding it will help you receive what they bring with the full appreciation it deserves. They had a moment, a specific moment of complete clarity, the kind that arrives without warning and without gradual buildup, that showed them with absolute precision what their life looks like with you in it and what it looks like without you. The contrast between these two visions was not subtle. It was the contrast between something that has color, depth, meaning, and genuine aliveness, and something that is functional but fundamentally incomplete. That contrast made the decision, and now they are moving. With the specific, committed, I have stopped negotiating with myself quality of movement that belongs to someone who has reached the end of their own ambivalence and is simply, finally, going in the direction of what they actually want. Does this feel like it is connecting to something real for you, Virgo? Has there been a sense recently of things moving, of energies shifting, of something building that you could feel the edges of without being able to see the full shape, Let me know in the comments. I want to know what is coming up for you as you sit with this. I want to speak now to what this person is bringing, because the what is as significant as the who and the why. They are bringing themselves fully, without the careful management or strategic presentation that has perhaps characterized how they have shown up in your life previously. What is approaching is the unedited version, the version that exists when all the protection has been set down, and what remains is simply what is true. For some of you, this means a declaration, something spoken with a clarity and a directness that removes every last trace of ambiguity about where they stand and what they want. The kind of statement that, once made, cannot be unmade, and that the person making it fully understands cannot be unmade, which is precisely why it carries the weight that it does. For others, this means an action, something done rather than said, a move so clear in its intention that words would actually be redundant alongside it, an appearance, a gesture, a choice made in full view of everyone who needs to see it, that communicates without requiring language the full scope of what this person has decided. For still others, this is a revelation. Something about this person, about their circumstances, about the full truth of what has been happening on their side of things that you are about to learn, and that is going to recontextualize everything you thought you understood about where things stood between you. Whatever specific form it takes in your particular situation, the essence is the same. Something that was hidden is becoming visible. Something that was potential is becoming actual. Something that existed only in the interior of someone's experience is stepping into the shared space between you, where both of you can finally see it and respond to it and decide together what to do with it. Inhale. I want to speak to something about the timing of all of this, because it is part of what makes this reading so specific and so urgent. What is happening now, not as a future possibility to be held at arm's length and hoped for carefully, as a current reality that is in process, moving, already past the point of being just an intention or just a building energy, already in the phase of actual manifestation in your real, physical, daily experience life. The reason I said lock your windows and doors is not for drama. It is because what is moving towards you right now has a momentum that is not going to stop and wait for you to be ready. It is coming with the force of everything that has been building, and the appropriate response to something with that kind of momentum is to be fully present, to be available, to have your attention oriented toward your actual life rather than toward the past version of circumstances that is about to be replaced by this incoming reality. Doors are for opening, Virgo, not for hiding behind. The locking of the windows and the doors is about creating a space of full presence, of being gathered in yourself, fully here, fully available for what is about to arrive, rather than scattered across the anticipation of it. Be here, fully. Now, I want to speak to something about your own reaction to what is coming, because I feel it is important to name it in advance. Your first response might be disbelief, not in the aggressive, this cannot be happening way, but in the quiet, blinking, slightly stunned way of someone who encounters something so far outside the territory of what they had prepared themselves for that their mind needs a moment to catch up to what is happening. Let that moment happen. Give yourself the pause of disbelief without rushing through it in either direction, without immediately converting it into certainty that this is real, and without immediately converting it into doubt that it could be. Simply let yourself be in the moment of encountering something unexpected, and allow your own processing to move at the pace it naturally moves. After the disbelief will come something else, something that starts quietly and builds, that moves through you the way warmth moves through a room when the sun finally comes through a window that has been covered, gradually at first, then undeniably, then completely. The warmth of this landing is going to be significant, not because good things are rare in your life, though you have been patient enough for them recently, but because this particular good thing, this specific convergence of threads, this specific person and this specific decision and this specific moment of things becoming visible that have been invisible has been built from the particular materials of your particular story. It fits you. It fits the precise shape of what you have been without always fully articulating it to yourself, actually hoping for. As I bring this reading toward its close, I want to speak to what this moment represents in the largest possible frame. There are moments in a life that function as turning points, not always recognizable as such in the immediate experience of them, because turning points do not always arrive with obvious announcement, but points nonetheless where the trajectory of things shifts in a way that, looking back, is clearly identifiable as the moment when one chapter closed and another began. What is arriving for you is a turning point. And unlike the many turning points that are only recognizable in hindsight, this one is going to be recognizable in real time. You are going to know as it is happening that something significant is occurring, that this is not just another day in the sequence of days that have been making up your recent experience. You are going to feel the chapter turning, and what is on the next page is going to exceed what you allowed yourself to write in your most hopeful private imaginings of what was still possible for you. Never in a million years did I think I would see this coming for you with this much force, this much completeness, this much specific, undeniable, impossible to argue with clarity, but here it is. And here you are, about to receive it. If this reading moves something in you today, please share it with a Virgo who needs to feel this energy right now, and leave me a comment below. Tell me what you are feeling. Tell me what part of this hit you in a way you were not expecting. Tell me what came to mind, what situation, what person, what area of your life suddenly feels like it might be the place where this is happening. I read every single word you share. Every story matters to me deeply, and I carry your energy with genuine care long after this video ends. Until next time, Virgo, lock your windows and doors. Gather yourself in. Be fully present, because what is coming does not knock twice, and it is already at your door.